Hey, welcome to the Sketch Zone podcast. I am Carlos Gomez, and this week I'm writing solo. Who was it that sang that song, Writing Solo? I can't even remember. I'm that old. Anyway, Charlie might be joining us soon, and Jack, I believe, is trying to get off of work. But before they get here, we're going to be able to talk to the team, the entire team. Last time we had these guys on, it was just a couple of them. Now we have the entire team behind Brotherman Comics. We're talking to the Emmy Award winning artist and CEO of Big City Entertainment, co-creator and illustrator of Brotherman Comics, Dawud Anyabwile. We're talking to his brother, co-creator, writer of Brotherman Comics, and author of The Cold Hard Cases of Denim, Guy Sims.
Hey, what's up?
And we're talking to master colorist, illustrator, and art director, Brian McGee.
Hi, everybody.
I just
Okay,
had a weird cartoon voice.
Brian got stuck in makeup, so he's not all the way with us, but we got his voice. What's up, fellas?
Hey, everything's
Hey,
good.
what's up? What's going on?
Thanks for having us on.
Oh, of course. It was a blast the first time we had you guys on, and I was excited when you guys actually wanted to come back. I was like, yeah, we did something right.
That's right. Yeah, no, we had a good time. Good old time.
So for those folks that are watching live, you can, hang on, where to go? You can use the Sketch Zone hotline. That's 408-753-8248. That's 748-SKETCH-8. Or if you're listening in internationally, you can use 011-408-753-8248. Sketch Zone hotline. I always forget to do that, but we're joking around about this show being a momentous one, not only because it's 112, but because we were sitting here and I had so much extra time I didn't even know what to do with. Like, you know, when you're dealing with professionals, when they're like, what time you want us there? And they're there like half hour early. Like, that's pro.
We're breaking the stereotype.
Right.
Breaking.
VPT. So what's going on, fellas? How's life treating you?
Okay. Well, I think everything is good and it's moving along. You mentioned, since you threw it out there about the Duke Denims, the next episode. When we last talked, we had the 4th episode out. Now we have the 5th one coming out this weekend. So I'll say that's keeping me jumping.
Nice. Is that available on Amazon and
on brothermancomics.com? Get it right.
Okay.
Right from the horse's mouth.
Boom. That's how we do that, kids. There was something. Oh, you know what's happening right now as we speak is they're wrapping up SIGGRAPH down in LA. Have you guys ever been to SIGGRAPH at all?
No, I've never been there. I've heard about it. Yeah.
It's more like 3D and special effects and stuff like that. So as a 2D guy, like I spent all my time over in the 2D, like the cartoon software section and Wacom. That was pretty much it. But Charlie, he's a big 3D head. He was eating that stuff up. But yeah, they're repping that up down in LA. I think they're doing the next year is going to happen in Vancouver. Yeah, we were talking about Comic-Con right before the show too. Did you guys get to go to Comic-Con this year?
No. I've only been there once, and I think that was like 2007.
Yeah, that's when I was there. Yeah, we were there together.
We were there together.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago. And that was by chance.
I've been outside.
Well, I used to live in the city, And so I take it back. I have gone there. Just I took my nephews one time, so I was only there as a consumer.
Yeah. How about you, Brian?
Oh,
You
I went.
spend much time at Comic Cons?
No, oops, I knocked my earphones out. Sorry. No, I've been twice. First time was in 96 when I first moved out to Los Angeles. And the second time I was actually with these guys. It was at 2000. No.
Yeah, that's 2007.
2007.
Yeah, we just all happened to be there. Like,
Right.
the guy lived out there.
Right.
I went there because I was working at Turner, and Turner sent. I wasn't going there for my own purpose. It was basically representing for Turner. And Brian happened to go out with, I guess, with Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And so we all just met up then. And that's before we did the graphic novel. So we weren't really, I think it was around that time where we decided to do it.
Yeah, we were definitely knew we were going to do it. We were just in the early stages of just kind of brainstorming.
Exactly.
That's neat. And then, well, actually, hang on. Let's go down Brian's path. Brian, so you are, like I said earlier, you're a colorist, you're an illustrator, and an art director. Is that what you're still doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had, one leg in separate ponds, just to stay active. I've done toy design for a while.
Oh, wow.
I storyboarded commercials and music videos, and now I'm doing feature films. I have worked as an illustrator for Cartoon Network, digital illustrator. I've worked as a character artist with Disney consumer products, and I mean, I like to be able to try to wear as many hats as I can, and it just seems to, it keeps me fresh.
Yeah,
I don't stay in one place for too long, but I stay busy enough so that I'm consistent with the product that I put out.
Sure. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Lower East Side, Manhattan, New York. Okay. And I left that when I was 26, back in the 90s. I'm aging myself.
Don't worry.
I left it, and I left.
All in that same camp.
Yes. I left the city. The bus fumes smell for fresher air in LA. If that tells you anything.
Now we know you might not be telling the truth, because
the air has a color out there.
Yeah, it's like jumping from the fire into the frying pan.
It's like fuchsia air. And ended up here in Atlanta, and I mean, I'm loving it. I came here in 2004, and I have no thoughts on leaving anytime soon.
There's something in the water in Atlanta. What's happening in Atlanta, as far as it seems like they're turning into the place to go if you want to get into cartooning and animation, and I know music is just exploding out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Atlanta's always been a hub for music industry, especially in the R&B and black music, urban music industry. And now, I'm not sure exactly when this started, but there was a tax incentive that was started there. So entertainment companies that are trying to form themselves and develop are encouraged to come to Atlanta for the tax incentives. So I think that's mainly why there's so much television and film work here, at least. And there's a lot of video game companies, a lot of animation going on. So, yeah.
Now, Dawud, you did some time. I say it like it was a prison sentence, but you went to LA for a while too, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in LA probably like 97 to 99.
You went to LA,
and then I was when I first went out there, I was well, actually, no, I just had that one job. When I finally landed the job, it was at Klasky Chupo.
Oh yeah.
Character designing for Wild Thornberrys, and then whenever Wild Thornberry season was down, then we get put on Rugrats.
Right.
So as far as Thornberrys, it was me and 3 other guys were doing like the character design, and that was a good experience. But I remember after about 2 years, that's when I just felt like, you know, LA was not really where I wanted to be. But, you know, primarily being in Hollywood, and I was living in North Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And my sons, they were little fellas at the time, and it just didn't really feel like, it felt more transient. And I was trying to look for something that was kind of a little more communal for a family. And LA seemed cool if it was just me, just coming out there just to, you know, get some opportunities. But for raising kids, I wasn't really connecting to it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like every place has its pros and cons. That's why I don't completely knock any one place, because there's things that you can access in one place you may not access somewhere else, but then there's a give and take. So then Atlanta was actually recommended from a friend, and then I heard Cartoon Network was here. So when I moved out, it wasn't necessarily to be at Turner or Cartoon Network. It was basically to supplement what I'm doing. And then, you know, it just so happened that my journey brought me here. And like Brian was saying, that like when I got here, I liked it. I didn't really see myself going back to Philly or New York or anything like that, or the West Coast.
Right.
You know,
that's what I hear when people go to Atlanta. They do fall in love with it, but then, you know, it's super hot and it's got mad mosquitoes. That's all I ever hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have mosquitoes in my neighborhood. They're probably they're in Brian neighborhood. Yeah, and even when they say it's hot, I mean, see, I lived in Dallas for 4 years. That was hot.
Yeah,
to me, that was hot. Yeah, Dallas was
like 110 in December.
Yeah, it was like dry hot. And you're always running your air conditioning, and you know, it's not until like December rolls around where it feels like maybe how summertime would feel in Philly, like where it's nice and cool.
Yeah, we prefer a moist hot.
So Brian, what was it that got you into art?
It's just something that was always there. It was always part of my upbringing, my life. Yeah. My father was a cartoon. Well, he was an artist. Oh, he had a very cartoony flair, and he was always joking around and drawing. And his drawings were jokes, basically. You know, I still have some of his old sketches, and they were always making fun of someone or some kind of commentary. And I guess I picked it up from him. I don't even know. I just always did it, even before I could really recall what was going on in life. You know?
Right.
And I just remember my mother giving me this giant, oversized pencil and this giant not needed eraser, but big pink eraser on the end of it. Yeah. And I started using that eraser, and then it like sort of kicked into overdrive. Like I could actually salvage some of my drawings and make them look the way I wanted to. And it was like, from that point on, it was like pushing a car downhill.
Yeah. Sorry, Odell was trying to get on and then he popped back off. But so your parents supported you. They liked the fact that you wanted to be an artist for.
Yeah. I'm still very thankful and grateful to my mother in particular. She was always putting me in art programs, after school programs. I went to the college that I ended up going to. I had been going to programs there since junior high, so I was very familiar with the environment and the types of people that I would find in college. And so that was also a pretty big aspect of my upbringing, is having all kinds of creative people around me all the time, whether they were writers, directors, actors. And that was just the normal way to be. You know, I hear stories about people who are discouraged from following their artistic goals. And I'm very fortunate that I wasn't one of those people.
Yeah, that's one of the disappointing things, I guess, of being a young artist. Your family wants you to succeed, and they don't realize that. A lot of times they don't realize that there's money to be made as an artist. We don't necessarily have to be the hungry artist cliche. And I always tell the story about, we were sitting around the table at Thanksgiving, and one of my younger cousins was going to go to the same art school that I graduated from. And my cousin says, I don't even know what he's going to do. Like, what are we going to do with him? And I was like, and I said, you know, I graduated from that school, right? And I'm making a lot more money than most of you guys are. So
Yeah.
Like, get that out of your head.
Stop that right now. Stop it.
I mean, it takes a while to break the status quo, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I'm coming from, you know, a long line of Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Dominicans, and they all worked at a factory or worked as a mechanic or something. And I popped out and I said, I want to be an artist. My mom said, boy,
if you don't take your behind somewhere,
you don't get up in that factory.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty supportive for the most part, but then, you know, I had gone to school, graduated with a degree in advertising, and then I went back for a degree in animation. And she's like, when are you going to be done with school? You know? Yeah. So she likes my drawings, but she likes me paying my bills better. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And a lot of us are not taught how to do business properly.
Yeah.
So that starving artist thing kind of becomes perpetual, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's a lesson that we talk about on this show quite often, actually, where you might not think that you're making that big of a difference, and you don't think that by you thinking that you're enjoying what you're creating, you almost devalue it.
Yeah.
Not realizing that when you're done with, say, a logo or a drawing or whatever, that company that just hired you to do that for $50, they're going to make a lot more money because of what you just created for them.
Right. That's something that needs to be kept in mind at all times.
Yeah. Let's welcome Odell Palmer.
You do.
What up, son?
Peace.
What's up?
Oh, hang on, let me do it right. My apologies, Odell. I got you, son.
My first show.
Are you in California also?
Yeah.
Yeah, Odell is making things happen in LA. He's got to change that LA cap though. He's got to go get one that says Cubs on it. Nobody wants to see that mess, son.
Yeah. How you guys been? Nice meeting you.
Good. How are you?
Good.
And who's the other guy?
Dawud and Brian.
Yeah. Brian.
Yes.
How you guys been?
Good.
Never better. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you specifically, Brian, for right now. But Brian, you graduate college. What was your big break, or how did you get into the creative industry?
Well, actually, I didn't graduate college. I sort of walked away from it. I was very frustrated with it. As I mentioned before, I had a lot of access to education in my youth. I had been going to the school that I actually went to was called the School of Visual Arts in New York. And I had been going to programs during the summer for years before I actually made it into the college. So when I was there and I'm paying all this money, I didn't feel like I was getting the college level education that I wanted. And so in my rebellious youth, I guess I kind of a little prematurely, or maybe not, because I ended up meeting some great people at that school who have been instrumental in helping me throughout my career, even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, just great people. My first job that I got out of college was through a friend of mine who was a packaging designer for a toy company in New York. And that was really where I sort of cut my teeth and honed my professional, what's the word? My work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And that led to more opportunities, and eventually through some sort of crazy weirdo synchronicity, I ended up working at Disney in California from that. That's a pretty long story, but I started out as an apprentice during an apprentice program. Apprenticeship was only something that I had to go through before I started working. See, the guy that was to hire me had to have me as an apprentice first, even though he decided, okay, we want this guy, but he has to spend the summer at this apprentice program making next to nothing. So that was a tough first year, but it was what I look at as part of my continuing education. And yeah, that I think I might have answered your question. Not sure. Rambled a little bit there.
Yeah, no. It makes sense. And it actually created another question, and I'm trying to figure it out in my head right now. There aren't that many apprenticeship programs anymore. And this is kind of a conversation piece for everyone, whether it's art or writing. It seems like the apprenticeship program is YouTube these days. Is it just me, or is it like the students are having to prove themselves a lot faster than before? Does that make sense? Like I remember coming out of college and they would give you a little bit of a ramp up period, right? Here's my demo reel. I'm a student. This is a student demo reel. Whereas these days, it's almost like if you don't have a short film under your belt, you're not even going to be considered for a job, or, you know, or even a book, or there's no ramp up period for kids anymore.
It seems to me, at least, I don't know if everybody else agrees, but it seems to me that with the advent of the internet and digital tech, and technology, YouTube, so forth, that young people have more at their disposal than we ever did. I mean, I was constantly going to museums and collecting books. I was spending tons of money at Barnes and Noble just to have an arsenal of knowledge at my disposal. But now you got the internet. You've got all this technique at your, all these tools that you can develop earlier. I see these young people who are masterful artists. I'm like jealous. We didn't have that. How dare they? But yeah, it's so maybe that's true. That there's less of a run up because the playing field is a little bit more leveled out, just due to the fact that information is more easily accessible.
Right. Yeah, I think it's easy now to, if there's something you want to do, you just type in "how do I" and fill in the blank, and something's going to pop up. If nothing pops up, that'll be very unusual. But most of the time, how do I write this kind of genre, and then videos and articles and stuff like that. So yeah, I can see why maybe there aren't a lot of apprenticeships because it's already there. But I think also the competition is extremely tight as well, and so maybe they don't have the luxury of, like Brian was saying, someone's going to work with me during the summer before I take the job. I think they want you to get in the job and you should be hitting the ground running.
Mm-hmm. Dawud, where was it the main place where you got a lot of your experience, or where you were able to sharpen up your skills to be able to be ready for your big break?
Let me see. I'm kind of similar with Brian, where my high school training is where I got my foundation for fine arts. Like, I was a fine art major all through high school in Philly. And but after high school, you know, I was at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and then that was for 1 year. Then I transferred back to Tyler School of Art, and then I didn't finish. It was the same thing. I was kind of frustrated. I just felt like I was putting out money, and you know, when I think back to it, it's like I don't really remember anything that I learned there. This is like mid-'80s, so you know, you didn't have, you know, like when I go to places like SCAD now, and you go to high schools now, they got Wacom tablets.
Yeah,
like,
they do.
I mean, I don't want to go back to high school. I just want their equipment. just give me the equipment. I don't want to go back there. I'm not going to talk like I want to go back to school, but you know, so school wasn't really like something at that time, you know. And actually, I wanted to really go to a place like, you know, Guy went to Lincoln, and my oldest brother went to Howard University. So I really wanted to go to a black college, and they didn't really have. There was no black art college, and so when I went to Tyler and places like that, I really didn't feel, you know, like those places spoke to me. But at the time I was at Tyler, I had my own custom airbrush shop in North Philly, and I used to airbrush at the Gallery Mall in Philly, and that's really where a lot of the excitement took place, like from like 1984, 85, all the way up to like 89. You know, just that's when people say, who was your inspiration? And they mention all these comic book artists. And I say, well, most of the people that inspired me, nobody knows who I won't say nobody knows who they are. They were people that were local to me. Right. You know, like local artists, graffiti writers, just dudes who just thought outside the box. They used to just sit down with me at the mall every weekend, and everybody bring their black sketchbooks. And, you know, we'll have these sketchbook battles, but it wasn't out of rage or contempt. It was like everybody used to inspire each other, and they come up with a new idea. Yo, check this out, try this, you know. And the 80s was really that type of period where all these creatives would come downtown, and we would all meet up. And if somebody would bust out a new style, it inspired everybody else. And we look forward to somebody making you go home and do better. Because, you know, back then we didn't have internet. We didn't know professional artists. And you look forward to seeing people that you knew who were good, you know, so there was a camaraderie. So to me, I would say that was the core to me really feeling like, man, I can do anything. I want to get to the next level. So come 89, when we first started doing Brotherman, came up with the concept of doing the comic book. I didn't know any comic book artists. I didn't really know, I knew very few. And with the exception of my man Reggie Byers in Philly, who basically gave me the initial information on how to jumpstart. But I didn't, you know, and I didn't follow the comic industry. Most of my stuff was street level art. But it was excitement though. It wasn't like street level, like nothing's happening. It was like, you know, just like the graffiti scene in New York and stuff. It's street level, but you know, that's what's up. So it was like, hey, I want to see this in a comic book. So that's why when I think of my inspiration, it was there. It wasn't really until years later, I think, when the internet came around, then I really started seeing what people were doing. And then, you know, you get another level of excitement. But there's also kind of a detached aspect of it too, because the thing I liked about the 80s is that we knew each other. Like we sit down and draw with each other. Like we'll sit on the front steps and draw. We'll meet downtown and draw. You know, now you're kind of like in your own space drawing, and you're looking at what somebody posted up, but it's already done. You're not watching the process. You're not talking with them like, hey, I got this idea to do this, and you're both doing it together. You know what I mean? So, but you know, it's, you know, everything's in its own time. I don't really say one's better than the other. You know, you just change with the times, and and then after a while, that just becomes your experience and your memory. But I don't say it's better than what, you know, a younger person is doing now online. you know.
And that's why one of the things that you touched on is that community, the art community that you can fall back on. There's a friend of mine that's been on the show. He's actually art directing out in Germany now, Mike Henry. He started this thing called Sketch Bomb, and I know that I think he started it in Chicago. He brought it out to San Francisco, and now there's a bunch of little chapters that are out, and all it is a bunch of folks getting together. You bring your tablet and you show up at a, you know, whether it's a coffee shop or wherever, and they give you, I think every night is 3 topics. They give you something to draw, and then at the end of, you know, 45 minutes or whatever it is, everyone puts their sketch pads on the table. You walk around, you take a look at everyone's sketch pad, and then you grab your sketch pad, you grab, you know, the next topic, and you get to drawing all over again. And I think to get better, you need that community. You need that instant feedback. Not that, you know, following Dawud on Instagram didn't make my art better. It did. You moved me from hot trash to lukewarm trash. It's that instant feedback and being able to ask someone questions that's not an email or a text message. I think that's really important to getting better. And a lot of, one of the important things that we talk about a lot on this show is doing things kind of like what you guys have done. You create projects for yourself, whether it's Duke Denim or Brotherman, and you're able to use that as the excuse to continue to draw and continue to write. What would you guys say to pretty much anyone that wants to get better as far as art or even writing and side projects?
Well, I always say that for anybody that wants to get better at writing, art, whatever, you know, it's the same advice you give when they say, I want to work on my jump shot. You just got to get out on the court and shoot shots. And the same thing, you want to be a writer, you got to read and you got to write. I mean, those are the 2 main tools you have to do. And I guess the same would go for art. You got to sit down, you got to draw something. You know,
right.
For me, I think that's what you have to do.
And you have to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes are necessary.
I have a boxes full of half-baked stories that sounded good at 11 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go back and didn't touch them. What is this junk? Who came in my room and wrote that last night?
We talked about this last time we were on the show. Brian, has there ever been a time you look at a guy and you'd be like, man, what are you thinking?
No, I mean, I'm amazed. Like, I want to be, you know, that's one of the things that I'm working on as far as my personal development. It's just writing stories. I have lots of stories in me, but you know, I haven't always had the confidence or the patience. And I'm fascinated with guys' ability to weave worlds. Like when you read these books, it's like it's almost tactile. You know, you can almost feel and hear and listen to sounds from the pages. It's great.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Dawud, what would be your pep talk for those kids that sit in a room with all this technology and they're like, I don't have anything to draw?
Oh my God.
Oh, and they're sitting there with the technology. Let me see.
Causing rolling brownouts.
You know, I think that, and you know, I do know some young children. I'm thinking of one young student now who I mentor from time to time. Actually, I know like a couple young fellas and a couple young sisters that they sometimes say that like they run into this wall where they're not sure what to draw. And so what I do is I try to tell them, like, at that point, draw from life. You know, because sometimes when you're like making things up, and I get this, you know, I run into the same thing. I don't think that ever goes away. You know, I think as you get older, there's always going to be a point where you're like, man, like, I don't know what to draw today, or what should I, you know, what should I do? So in a space like that, I would say, you know, draw from life. That way you're kind of still drawing, or maybe illustrate something that happened to you. You know, like we always telling stories, you know, somebody comes home, you tell them what happened during the day. Well, instead of telling them what happened, draw it, you know, and draw it in a way where it's kind of funny looking or whatever. And then you got a little cartoon, you know, because it's a story and you're illustrating a story, you know. So that usually helped. Cause I used to have when I used to teach art classes at we had Big City Comics World Headquarters in Philly, and I had art students, these little kids and teenagers. And I remember that specifically doing that one time. I said, if you run out of ideas, I said, instead of telling a story to your friends, just sit down and draw it. And they got a kick out of that. Yeah. You know?
There's this new thing that's happening on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like a daily draw blog. I don't know what they call it, but folks are starting to take that little, exactly what you said, that little time of their day that was either funny or ironic or whatever it is, they draw it out and they have the panels up on Instagram. It's really cool to see folks like finding excuses to draw.
I try to tell people who like to write, I tell them, don't get hung up on technology. I say, you only really need two pieces of technology, a pen or a pencil and paper. 'Cause even still, I don't do a lot of writing with the laptop or anything like that. Sure. If I'm out and about, I tend to always have you know, the binder that has the paper in it or something like that. It's you know, it's more flexible. You know, you never worry about, you know, am I powered up? Am I powering? You know, to kind of find a plug.
Is the battery gonna last? Yeah.
Yeah, I usually don't do the laptop until like the weekend, when now I'm taking it and now I'm just, you know, writing it all up and, you know, getting it on the hard drive. Right. But I try to, and it's just like Dawud said, when I've had people tell me I don't know what to write, you know, and I say the same thing, you know, go outside and listen to people, and you hear their conversations, and you don't hear the whole thing, finish the conversations. Or, you know, I used to always catch the bus and the subway in Philly, and I mean, they're packed with characters, you know, and, you know, that's where I've always drawn from my characterizations, just from people that I see, because I think they're very relatable, you know, because I think we've all seen the buck wild person on the bus, or the person who's acting strange on the street. They're no stranger to us. And so
if you live in a big city in the United States,
they're all right.
Just go outside.
That's right.
If that's not motivation enough or inspirational enough, then I don't know.
And I think you just said it. You got to get out. I mean, it's hard to write about the world if all you do is sit in your room and try to do it there. You know, you bring the outside world. You go out to the world, and then you bring it back inside and do the technical stuff.
Right. Hey, Odell, what do you tell someone that that just doesn't know how to catch inspiration or get moving on creating something?
It's to be honest, dude, exactly what these guys been saying. The best inspiration. The best thing when you're in a block, the best thing to do is just get out there and just look at what's going on outside. Like a lot of time when I'm doing my artwork, I just use, because I'm tired of doing superheroes and I don't want to do any of that you know, that stuff that everybody else is doing, robots and stuff like that. So what I do is I either watch the news, which is always
which is a comedy show these days. Yeah,
exactly. So there's a lot of content I can use. You know what I mean? It's like there's no reason for somebody to say I don't know what to do, or I don't I don't have an idea for stuff. Just like get out of your bubble for a little bit, walk around. And you find everything is out there. Like just a second ago, I'm sitting down at my desk, like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I have pieces that I'm working on, but I don't want to go back to it. So what do? I walked outside. I walked outside just now, went to a barber shop, saw some homeless guy sitting out there in a bucket. And he's sitting on the bucket. The bucket's not turned upside down. It's turned right side up, and there's no lid. And he's just sitting on the bucket. I'm like, okay, a homeless guy sitting on a bucket. What are you doing? So right now,
were his pants on? Was he wearing pants? I'm trying to get the visual. We're talking about.
Yes, his pants was on. He was just sitting on the bucket.
Okay.
Sitting on the bucket like nothing happened, bro. Just, okay, cool. So that is like just right there. I can come up with a bunch of stories. Like, why is he sitting on the bucket?
Right.
Where did he get the bucket? I don't know.
Why did he want to sit outside the barbershop?
And it's hot. It's super hot. And he's in jeans and a long sleeve shirt.
Let me tell you, LA is prime real estate for crazy people.
Hollywood. Yeah, it's like it's like I'm inspired by everything I see. It's just like, what? You know what I mean? It's like you see some stuff sometimes like, what were you know what, never mind. Just go with it. Just go with it. But that's the thing, is, you know what I mean, it's you pull inspiration from your surroundings, and if you're stuck, if you're in a block, that's, you know, you need to get out and just leave the computer for a second.
Yeah.
Just leave the computer, like turn it off. Like I went a whole week without touching anything in my office, a whole week.
What?
And then came back and I was like, what the hell am I doing? So,
are you crazy?
Yeah. Meanwhile, there was 3 updates to ZBrush. He's all lost now.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I walked away, and for a whole week, I built something with my hands. You know what I mean? Like, actually took my artistic style and just built something. So this desk that I'm on right now, I built from scratch.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, it's a dope desk.
Out of buckets.
So, you know what I mean? So get out, you know, do something different. You'll lose yourself. It's like tunnel vision, but, you know, just get out and just do something that you never think you would do, and then who knows what might end up coming out with.
So yeah, it was funny. I was a guest speaker in class. I can hear echo.
Yeah, I hear echo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, it's fixed.
Okay. One time I was a guest speaker in a class, and I was telling students to, like for inspiration, you know, listen to music. And the students started talking about videos. I said, no, don't watch videos. Just listen to the music. I said, because the videos already come with someone else's concept of what the music is.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, avoid that. But, you know, I think a lot of kids today, they struggle with that because the video is such a strong component to the music. I told them, I said, when I was coming up, you know, of course, we didn't have any videos. I said, for the most part, I didn't even know who the artists looked like for a lot of the music that I really liked. I didn't know what they looked like unless they came on Soul Train, or maybe they popped up in Right On Magazine. For the most part, you know, I didn't know what anybody looked like, and so I had to imagine what they looked like, and I had to imagine what they were trying to say with their music. Also helped me, I think, as a writer, because now I had to interpret, you know, someone else's words into interpret their words and their feelings into my own feelings, and then now take it to someplace else. But I try to tell people, you know, listen to music and, you know, avoid the video. Watch the video later and see, you know, if your ideas match. You know, because sometimes their idea was crazy, and yours idea is maybe just as crazy in a different direction.
So what was the inspiration behind getting Brotherman started? Or how did that idea come about?
For the actual story, or for the idea of doing a comic book? Because those were two different things. because the idea of doing a comic book came first when there wasn't a story idea. And then the story concept came along. It was, basically we were coming up with an idea for the Black Expo New York. And my other brother, Jason, was involved. We had a custom airbrush shop in East Orange, New Jersey. And we said, hey, let's have a comic book there, because this is when the Black Expos first started. It was like a new phenomenon on the East Coast, and we went there in '89 and we saw the massive crowd. But a lot of the work that we saw, although it was great, we didn't really see anything that was innovative like a comic book. You see art prints, you see African art, T-shirts, things like that. And we say, hey, a comic book would just stick out like a sore thumb. So that's, it had nothing to do with comic industry, it had nothing to do with comic conventions. It was just to be able to have something that, hey, and then at that time, doing a print run of comics was, the minimum was 10,000 books you had to run. It's not like now you do on demand, you can do one book. Back then, a 24-page black and white book, we had to run like 10,000 books, and I think it was like $2,500. And we said, well, hey, if we go here and you just get 10,000 people to give you $2 for a book, you walk out with $20,000. So that was the math on it. So that was the idea of doing the book. Then after we made a chart, like, hey, we're going to do this. This was our plan for '89 going into '90. We're going to have this comic book. We're going to promote our airbrush shop, blah, blah, blah. And then the idea was to do a comic book. And Brotherman was just a character. My sketchbook, much like any other character, but it wasn't developed. It was just a little character. And then, naturally we called on Guy and said, hey, can you write a story? So then Guy jumped on board, and that's when we just had that powwow meeting and came up with the name of the main character, Duke, Melody, and Antonio Valor. And, it was kind of like tongue in cheek when it started. It's basically we took, if you look at what Brotherman is now, the foundation was us just having fun in that first discussion. It wasn't trying to be all deep or nothing like that. Let's have something fun that when people pick it up at the show, they'll say, hey, I never seen anything like this. Right. But then by the second issue, we said, when we started seeing that we had a following, we said, well, let's go and let's do this, because now we're getting letters from people. And then right. By the time we got to issue number 3, that's when we really started like stepping into our power as our own publisher and being a creator. Like, you realize you have the ear and eyes of people that, wow, we could do whatever we want to do. Let's move away from that initial idea of just making something funny or whatever, and let's evolve this world. And then everything really started taking off from there, even with the style. Like, I didn't know, how do you draw a comic book? That's how it started, and initially, if anybody looks in Brotherman #1, I wasn't good at inking. And I wasn't good at inking. I didn't know what I was doing. I used rulers, and I hated rulers. But I thought in comic books you have to use a ruler. But when I was airbrushing and doing stuff like that, my work was freehand, thick to thin lines, and things being quirky and off balance. And even though I might know, anatomy from doing fine art, it's like, well, I want to force the anatomy. I don't really care if the anatomy is perfect. I like imperfection. Right. And then I said, well, I'm gonna start putting that in the book more and just refining that imperfection. And then, so as far as artistic, that's what I did. Guy can kind of elaborate on the writing.
Yeah, and just like he said in the beginning, I had never written a comic book. Didn't spend a lot of time reading a lot of comic books, but I said there's a basic format. I just went to what was already out there. I think I might have bought a comic book and said, okay, looks like you start with this. Your first page is a big page with one panel. Then the second page has your 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, and then your last panel has to leave. So those kind of things. But I think I had a background in theater, reading a lot of plays growing up. So I understood the script process.
Mm-hmm.
So I just adapted. I don't know how people at the major comic book companies work. I couldn't tell you to this day. I don't know what they do. I just know what I do, and it tends to work for us. I don't know if somebody sits down and writes a story out and then writes a script and does all the dialogue, and do they write direction? I don't know what they do. I look at my scripts. I just say, I think about it as a play. And now that, working closely with Dawud and Brian, because they do storyboards. So it kind of also reflects like the story. I'll call it the storyboard style, because I give the direction of what action is supposed to happen as well. And so, but when we first started out, the first villain in the comic book was very traditional comic book villain, a lady with the veil mask and the cape.
And she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine. The crime is incredible, But even still, I think my sensibilities still had it grounded in something different, because you had Antonio, you had Melody, you had Duke, and Melody wasn't she wasn't set to be the damsel in distress. She was her own person who could have existed without either of them, and just like Duke. When we got past 1 and 2, which was the traditional first story end in the second story, I say that for me the big change comes in number 3. So if someone has the old books, you look at number 1, then you look at number 3, you're going to see some real dramatic differences in the storytelling, in the look of the drawings, and just the feel. You could tell that, like Dawud said, now we're into our own groove. It's kind of like someone teaches you how to make something, like a cake or something, and the first couple of times you're going to do it, you're going to look at the box and say, 2 eggs, 2 eggs. You're going to do it by the recipe, but after a while you're going to say, wait a second, because I remember Dawud talking about making cakes. The box called for water, and you added milk. This is long time ago. But you started doing it your own way, and it came out just as good or better. When I make pancakes for the family, I don't use any. I have my own recipe. I don't look at the bag. I just know this. And my mother taught me. She just said, you'll know when the consistency is right. The box or the bag's not going to tell you that. So that's where we progressed to. But what was funny about the writing it is I wrote it on the first stories. I wrote on legal pad, and we didn't have the email system because I lived in Delaware. They were in New Jersey, and so I had to fax the story and the script back to Dawud, and then once he got it, then we just talk on the phone. Okay, I'm looking at this page. What's on this? Things like that. Today is it's so easy. You just put on the Google Drive and he knows it's there. And if you need something, you just get it. It is like working together in the same room. But we've never worked on the book together in this same location ever. We've always lived in different places.
Does that interest you guys at all?
That's just by nature of me and my jobs and him and his jobs.
Yeah.
It's just it's not like it's planned that we didn't live near each other. It's just, hey, that's just what it is.
Right. So I wanted to touch on this real quick before we get off topic too much. Dawud and Brian too. Like you were talking about anatomy and stretching anatomy and really getting after it with stretching it. I know I already said that, but that's one of the things that attracts me to the way you guys draw and the way you guys create, is the fact that you guys are making it not as real, and it's, to me, the shapes and the flow, I guess, is just cool to me, and very motivating. I like it.
Cool.
That was
So
one
we're
of
gonna go to the chat room real quick. Did I cut someone off?
Oh no, I was just gonna comment that what you're describing was one of the things that really interested it and caught my attention when I first saw Brotherman. As you know, or I may not know, I was not part of the original book. This is my involvement only stems from the graphic novel and the later years productions. But yeah, that was always something that I thought was cool. I like the fact that these exaggerations in anatomy and the confidence in which they're drawn, they pull you in. So you might technically they might be, you know, erroneous, but they're interesting to look at. Like
Right.
The whole new world. And so as a colorist, I really I strove for quite a while to figure out how to add to it and, you know, not step on the style.
Yeah.
And also, like, when in the 80s, when I used to do the airbrush shirts at the mall, it just felt like stretching things just felt like that was the soul. That was the soul of the people that used to come down to the mall, you know, like posing, profiling. You know, I used to DJ too, and you know, we used to go to house parties and stuff, and you just feel the vibration and the music and all that stuff. So that kind of translated to the art. And I was never really concerned about perfection. You know, like even now, you know, I'll see how people will be critical of, you know, say if some artist posts up a picture and you know, some of their anatomy is off or something like that, and somebody might be really super critical on them. And I don't usually get critical on that. I think the fact that they're trying and they're constantly doing something that they're going to find themselves, you know, of course, you don't want to do things out of ignorance. You want to study as much as you can. But, you know, sometimes in somebody's lifetime, you may never learn. And there's a lot to learn with the human body, to all the muscles, all the bones and all that stuff. In a lifetime, some artists may never learn all that, but may still be able to kill it when it comes to like doing some cool artwork. You know, maybe the tricep isn't correct, like extremely correct, but the picture is attractive. I mean, look at Jack Kirby. When I was coming up, I remember when I was younger, I didn't like Jack Kirby's work because it wasn't perfect. But then I started becoming, you know, more, you know, I started understanding that he had this style that now when I look at it, I really love it. You know what I mean? Like his muscle anatomy isn't always correct. And I think that's just like Brian was saying, it's like, but he's drawing with confidence. He's not drawing like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's claimed his style. And when you claim your style, you know, you can draw three or four nostrils if you want. But if that just makes the picture just look crazy, attracts people to it, then that's your thing, you know?
Yeah, it's the soul of it, not so much the technical perfection.
Dawud, can you share with us your lesson about style that you learned in high school?
The grimy style. That's funny. Yeah, because when I was, and I think it started out of ignorance. You know, like when I was younger, whenever we did like charcoal drawings or gesture drawings or things of that nature, and my art teacher would say, you know, I was a dirty artist because whenever I turned in my drawings, it was smudged up and everything, you know, because as I'm drawing, you know, this part of your hand is wiping all over, which is why in animation we wear the gloves and stuff. But back then, you know, I'm just smudging it. And then I just remember my teacher saying that I was a dirty artist because whenever I turned in my work, he said, your work is beautiful, but it's just dirty. You know, you have to learn how to be cleaner. And he said, now, if that's your style, that's okay. Just don't do it out of ignorance. So I say, hey, okay, Mr. Harmon, that's my style. And I remember I claimed it at that moment. So then when I started doing it and I knew I was smudging, it didn't matter to me. And then I think adding to it, you know, the type of city that Philadelphia was, you know, like any other major city, you know, go down to the sub, smells like urine, but you know, you got these cool tags down there, artwork down there, and you know, as a high school kid, you're being entrenched in this, and it's just like, man, that's cool, that's grimy, you know. And then when I started drawing, I started incorporating all of that into it, but not just limited to the quote unquote grime of the city. There might be like cute kids down there and a family and college students, grandmoms, you know what I mean? So I see the family, I see community. I don't just look at grime. I look at loving people, you know, so it's kind of like a dichotomy of both worlds. So I never just stuck into one world, where a lot of times, you know, we see some of these movies and they're always quote unquote about the hood or about city life. They always focus, like if it's a movie about rap, and say all of us right now, we're all friends and we all rap. It's like all we do all day is rap, and when we go home, we're rapping. You know what I mean? You know, like, do we have parents? Do we have other people that don't rap around us, or people that don't like it?
Nope.
And, you know, that makes our life more real, because when we get together, that's our common bond. But what makes it real, when people say keep it real, is when we go home or deal with aspects of ourselves outside of that, there's more of a balance that makes the whole drive of our talent even that much greater, because then we're seeing where each one of us comes from as a separate individual. So to me, that's what I always think of in terms of like when I'm doing my work. I don't stay in one zone. That's why I'm in big city, even the way Guy writes, he doesn't keep you in downtown Central Point. That's why we came up with all these areas on the map, because initially people think, oh, big city, is this big ghetto? Or, you know, and I said, do people call Metropolis a ghetto or Gotham City a ghetto?
Right.
You know, I think when they see black characters in one city, it's a ghetto. When we're saying no, it's like a Lagos, Nigeria. It's a city. You know what I mean? So I like when
meanwhile, Gotham is just full of trash and all kinds of junkies and stuff. But
yeah, nobody ever called it a ghetto. I never
right.
heard of anybody call it a ghetto. And so with Guy, I like reading Cold Hard Cases of Duke Denim, because that's a surprise to me. I don't know what's going to happen, but he takes me to all these different areas in big city, like areas that feel so exclusive that I feel like, man, I wish I could afford to live here. And then he'll take you somewhere else where, man, I don't want to go down there. It's kind of scary. And then you got somewhere else, the arts district. And then he'll take you to the morgue. And then he'll take you somewhere else. So you feel like you're in a real place, because there's diversity in terms of the reference points. And I like to draw like that as well. And I think that's what creates the style and the dimension of the comic book.
I'm going to jump on a question real quick from Spicer McElroy on the chat. He says, thanks for these podcasts and all the info. How excited are you now that you can directly sell to the audience on a mass digital market?
Anybody want to take that, Guy?
Well, I think it's great. Well, just like Dawud said earlier, back in the day, you had to have a 10,000 issue run, which meant now they're either in your car or in your basement, in your living room, under your bed, and you're constantly. Your goal is to hit the street and find your audience. Where with today's technology allows you to reach out to all around the globe. So that is a significant advantage. There's other platforms like the Amazon, Barnes and Noble. We don't. They're not high on moving Brotherman stuff. I do like the fact that people can get right to us, because then they can ask us questions. If they say, "Hey, I want to send mine with an autograph," and make sure it's made out to Little Latifah and the crew on 15th Street. When they open it, it's going to say to Little Latifah, the crew on 15th Street, keep your head up, or whatever. And so that's just a better relationship with your audience.
And to be absolutely clear, you can go to brothermancomics.com/store.
Right. But like I said, if someone says, "Can you do that for us?" you know, you're talking to the people who put it together, and I think that has more meaning for people.
Yeah, that's true. And knowing that if I go and I get a comic book, Dawud is going to drag his hands across it because that's his style.
That's the style.
And you know, not everyone gets a Dawud mushed,
Smudged. Hey.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Rare fine.
I like the platform that's out there today.
Yeah. And again, I want to make clear, you can go to the brothermancomics.com/store. That's their store. Everything is up there.
Right.
Are you guys going to be getting into like t-shirts and buttons and what's hot these days? Pins. They're starting to make pins and stuff now.
Well,
go ahead, Dal. Go ahead,
Dal. The thing is, we've been doing that. I mean, since Brotherman first came out, we had shirts. We had a licensing deal back in '92 where we had a company out of South Carolina that was licensing our shirts. We had a license deal with man, we had gotten in Walmart at one point. It was like a long time ago, like posters. We had posters in Walmart. This is like '92. And then we also did our own stuff. Like, oh man, if I'd have known, I'd have brought it for the video. It's in the.
I have the cups upstairs.
That's what I'm saying. We had like little clay heads, like back when people used to get them little Malcolm X heads. You know, I knew a lot of different artists back home, and this one guy made little Brotherman clay heads because he made all these like B-boy, B-girl character clay heads, and the name of his company was Hard Heads because he would, you know, cook the clay. Yeah. So we had Brotherman clay heads. We this other brother used to make out of New York would take the comic book covers and shrink them down real small and mount them and put them on caps like this, so people have them on ski caps, and they would be the icon on the front. We had like little medallions, necklace medallions where you could wear the comic book. Around like I still haven't seen anybody do that. Like these are things that we know we can still bring back and it'll still be different and fresh. So we always were thinking about different things outside the box. I was just talking to a friend of mine recently about lunch boxes, you know, and things like that. And I have my own. Actually, you probably can't see it here. You see, I got my heat press right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I press my own shirts. I can make iPhone covers, iPad covers. I have I don't know if you can see it too well, but I have a vinyl cutter over here. I have a sublimation printer. I have the printer for mugs. Like I can print my own mugs. So I was always into merchandising because before the comic book, that's what we had. We had a custom airbrush and novelty shop. So we did silk screening, airbrushing, little novelty items, and then Brotherman came out of that. So then it's kind of like, oh, let's go back and do this too. But my goal is like not to be doing this out the house. I just do it so I like to be able to control my merchandise.
Sure.
But what I really want to do is have like a facility. Like eventually we'll have our own merchandise facility because I'll use on demand for now. But my goal is like we have our own department that prints all our merchandising and intellectual property, and it also creates jobs for a lot of younger kids and gives them like responsibilities, and then they also feel like they're part of a legacy, part of legacy building because they are. Right. You know, so that's how I see it in the long run. But we do have a actually I'm having my website revamped right now as we speak for the art for the launch of the art show, and that's going to connect our on-demand site where we have the skateboard decks and the nice posters and all that stuff. It's gallery.com. It's pretty dope website.
No. Let's go back to the point where you guys met Brian and you decided to bring Brian onto the team.
Let's see. I keep forgetting what year that was. Didn't we meet like 2004?
Yeah, that was the year that I moved from Los Angeles.
Yeah. And see what?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Now at the time we met, Brotherman as a comic book and stuff wasn't in it wasn't really in full effect.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually at that time in like a negotiation deal with a production company, and actually Samuel Jackson at the time. That's a whole nother story. But when I met Brian, that was at Turner, and I remember seeing his work, and I was like, man, this dude's good, you know. But you know how like sometimes you meet people, and it's like you're like admiring them. It's like, man, I hope we could work together someday. But I didn't really have anything for us to work on. You know, Brotherman was still dormant, and I'm just like, just getting to know him. And I didn't know Brian knew anything about Brotherman. I was just like, man, the dude is like amazing. Like all these little pictures he had hanging around his art table at Cartoon Network. And he had the posters that he did for Harvey Birdman, you know. And I was just like, man, he's a professional. He's like a real professional.
Little did we know.
Yeah. and that was cool. And then yeah, Brian could take it from there, because then we were eating lunch every day, and just when we first, well, he'll tell you about how Brotherman came up, but when we finally decided that we were gonna work together and bring Brotherman back, I think Brian was one of the first people to really pick my brain on Brotherman beyond the surface level. Like he wanted to know everything about the universe. You know, we had all this music that nobody heard before, because, you know, my cousins, they created the original soundtrack. They're out of Jersey City, you know, going back to the 80s, like the grimy beats and all that stuff, the melodic music that I would say is reminiscent like of Mad Lib or RZA and stuff like that. You know, they've been doing that for years. And that was the original sound for Brotherman that I used to play them tracks over and over. They're just instrumentals. And that's where a lot of the imagery came from, me listening to those beats over the years. But nobody really heard those outside of me, my cousins, and people that we knew. So I started playing it for Brian. And Brian was like, oh, man. Then I found out Brian was a musician. And then eventually me and Brian got together and banged out the Brotherman intro track. And that was good, because just like you say, like with like Brian was saying earlier, like he has story ideas, and then Guy's somebody who could take story ideas and then flesh it out into a concept. With me, I was always like that with music. I have ideas, but I wasn't like a seasoned musician. But here's Brian, he's the musician and an artist, so we could sit down and he knows those ideas that I have, but then he can add to it and it works, and then he make it full. You know what I mean? So that was from my end. I guess Brian could chime in.
I think when Dawud kind of brought me in and kind of introduced me to the musical styles that were behind the inception of Brotherman, based on the music from his cousins and so forth, I was already kind of familiar, because it's indicative of that northeastern grimy hip hop sound that we all kind of grew up on, that golden era style. Mm-hmm. And for me, I knew exactly what he was talking about. I was already there. I discovered Brotherman in early 90s, back when I was doing toy design. And it was something that really inspired me, and it was something that I thought, okay, this is where it's at. Like this, if I was going to be doing comic books, it would be something along these lines. Mm-hmm. And so when the time came around for me to leave Los Angeles, move everything to Atlanta, a friend of mine sort of gave me a heads up that the creator of Brotherman was going to also be working for the same company. So I kind of had my antennas up and kept my eyes and ears open. And when we met, it was more of like I was kind of walking around with my sketchbook looking lost, and Dawud was sitting with a bunch of other dudes, and you know, he's a very open kind of person, and he said, "Hey brother, come on, sit down." You know, and that was how we met.
You look lost, brother. Sit down here, brother.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like.
Get some of this knowledge.
And then okay, this is the guy that I was told about, and this is the guy who I've been a fan of for all these years. And I said, look, you know, I'm a fan. I would like to see Brotherman return. I think it's a very important book. It has inspired me over the years. I've had conversations with many people who miss it. And, you know, I kind of presented the idea of like, okay, what do we have to do to bring this back? And that's why I was plying him with questions. I wanted to know the ins and outs. I wanted to understand it even more, because it was such a unique story and it's such a unique product. And I really just wanted to be a part of it. And I offered my cinematic experience, having worked in film as an illustrator and a storyboard artist and a colorist and a character designer. And I thought, okay, I have what it takes. Let's see if it works out for these guys, see what I can add to it. And it was a long process. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't just walk right in and just, hey, let's make a comic book. It was a lot of thinking, a lot of discussion that went into it. And yeah, I feel that I feel that it was something that begged discussion and thought. And I'm very proud of what we've done so far, and I'm proud of what's coming.
Nice. At what point did they tell you this is the part that we want you to handle?
Well, I sort of put myself out as colorist. I thought there was really no other room for me as an artist to I'm not going to try to correct Dawud's drawings, and I just didn't feel like our styles were compatible on that level. I thought if I were to enhance his drawings with color and lighting, then that might be, you know, something that all the other fans like myself were already familiar with. And I'm just adding a new dimension in color and lighting and shading.
Pretend like Dawud's not listening, because he probably isn't. When you're in there painting and doing coloring and doing your thing, like you have like pushed over a hip a little bit, maybe worked on a little tricep or something. You fix this stuff. It's okay.
Well, what I've done actually, there's that Melody Rich drawing behind him. That was something that I did, and an older sketch of Brotherman that we kind of went back and forth with. And do you have the poster of young Antonio Valor by any chance? So there's that.
Boom.
All right. So that was a redrawing of a drawing, a sketch that Dawud did. Yeah. And then there was team ups. Yeah, we did some team ups, and we won. There's a painting, digital painting that we did back and forth over Skype. That was crazy.
Oh.
And it was a drawing. It was a drawing or painting of young Antonio Valor from the Revelation graphic novel. This is way before we'd actually got into production. I think the story was already written. Guy had already kind of fleshed it out. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were starting to. We basically storyboarded the entire first graphic novel in grayscale.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah,
so 2009.
Amazing.
I actually sketched it at Apache Cafe on drawing night, the black and white.
Yeah.
And Brian got in and went crazy.
So we went back. We literally through that. We literally did a volley over Skype.
Yeah.
A lot of screen sharing. So as far as correcting, I don't feel like I really have time to correct thing that he does, and I'm actually a fan, so I enjoy the little idiosyncrasies of Dawud's drawing style. Yeah. I geek out. I'm geeking out.
Yeah. Like I same here. I could just see you up on stage somewhere being like, I'm just happy to be here. Like
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but the thing that's cool though is that because I respect and appreciate Brian as an artist. I mean, not just visual artist, but musically, thought process, even conceptually, like, hey, what direction can we go? Because, when I'm working on Brotherman, I work with what I have, which for the most part was me and Guy and my other brother, Jason. And But in terms of like drawing, it's always just been me. I don't have like a twin brother that draws. So when Brian was coming in doing colors, you know, I'll ask him, I say, hey, what do you think? You know, there's panels that we worked on where when I did the storyboards, Brian would say, hey, this might be more dynamic if you do this. So I say, hey, draw on top of it. What do you see? You know what I mean? So he'll draw on top of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. You know what I mean? And then, and we work like that. Like if he sees something and he thinks this can make it better, you know, I don't say, no, it can never be better. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, let me see what you got there, you know? And then sometimes I might be like, well, you know, what I was trying to go for was this. And then, you know, he'll get that. And then the same thing happens with me and Guy. Guy will write something and then it's like, I'll throw an idea. I'm thinking like, I think it might be more dramatic if we go with this. And then, you know, Guy go back, he'll rewrite it and then he'll make it even better than what I was thinking. And then sometimes Guy will justify it and say, well, you don't want to give away, reason why I'm writing it like this, because I'm setting it up for this. And then I'll be like, oh, okay. So then I'm learning from both of them. So like I learned about story writing from Guy. I learned about, I learned a lot about coloring from Brian and even with music, you know, like he'll play tracks and stuff for me or even talk about music programs. I don't get to work on it as much as I would like to. But I think that's the whole idea of building a team. When you build a team, people who respect each other, you want feedback from each other. You want people to catch things that can be better. Right. Because ultimately we all know it's bigger than us. Right. You know, we're not fighting for like a highlight, my name. It's like I want the property to be well known. Right. You know, the property is the thing I want to blow up because the property sets the tone. It's the vanguard for all the other properties that come. Because by that time, now we got 50, 100 people working on it now. You know, to the point where I would like to sit back and not have to really work on it. Yeah. You know, but you want to get all the best people who get it and they're all on the same page. They're not jockeying for power. They all understand their united power creates something that creates longevity for all of them and legacy. Right. So that's why my team is slow building. Some people always say, hey, why don't y'all, you know, almost like when Brian said in the beginning, it wasn't a quick process. When I get people that walk up to me and they want to automatically do something because we just met that day and I don't even know them yet. I don't know what their style is, their work ethic. They don't understand our background. You may have people that they draw really well, but they're not on the same page with you in terms of the aesthetic or the principles. You know what I mean? Because there's principles behind, I wouldn't say Brotherman, but Big City Entertainment as an organization. Like we have a vision in terms of what we're trying to set up. So that's like me meeting George Lucas one day and say, hey, George, oh man, let me write a track for Star Wars. You know, and he said, hey, have you ever seen them yet? I haven't seen the movie, but I heard a lot about it. You should let me write the theme song. He's gonna give you he's gonna give you the theme song and you didn't even see the movie yet. You know what I mean? So you have to build a team. You have to get familiar with it. You got to know the product inside out. And so then what you contribute makes sense to the masses because the masses, they know it inside out. So they'll know that you don't know it just from looking at it like that would never happen in Brotherman because I've been following it for years. Right. So that's when you know somebody respects the property, and when they respect the property, then you respect them, and that mutual respect creates something greater.
And I think that's a really good lesson for anyone with properties that they might be working on is you should be proud of your property, but don't be so protective of it as to not let someone come in and you know, going back to the book analogy, let someone add milk to it because it might make it better.
Someone add milk to it.
Almond milk.
Almond milk.
Yeah.
I like coconut.
There is a question from Shomari Simmons, and the question is: besides Brotherman, will there be any other projects that you will be working on together?
That's the goal. The goal, Brotherman is, like I said, it's the vanguard to Big City, the entity, Big City Entertainment, which formerly was Big City Comics. Like, you know, Duke Cold Hard Cases of Duke Denim is our first official spinoff that was published. But we also have Far Out Troopers, which is this little fella back here, which is actually the cartoon series in Big City that the kids watch on television. Okay. But we see that as a, you know, it's a futuristic world. The story is actually fleshed out. It's been fleshed out for a long time, but we can't focus on it yet because Brotherman has to succeed first in order for everything else to follow. Mm-hmm. But I always tell people, you know, Brotherman is the Mickey Mouse to the Disneyland. You know, Mickey Mouse has to succeed in order for all these other spin-offs to come. It's not like before Mickey Mouse has any weight, you jump on, hey, let me do Goofy, let me do this, and you didn't solidify your first character yet. And, you know, in some people's case, they may have the money to do that right away, or the power and things like that. And ours was a slow build because it's an independent, is birthed on an independent foundation that takes time. And we're looking to build something that has quality that will last for a long time. Guy, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think you kind of knocked it on the head about, you know, Brotherman itself being the vanguard or the keystone for all the other pieces. You know, we're just, you know, even in Brotherman, you know, we talked about Duke. You know, we already have developed the concept of the world of Big City prior to Big City, when it was originally called Camarith, and it's the story of the elders, and we'll just be they're referenced in the graphic novel. It's one of those things. If you read it, some people might have just glossed over it because they wanted to get to the graphic novel stuff. But if you go back, we reference the original founders of Big City, and that sets up a whole premise for another whole story of what life was like before there was Big City. So we have a number of properties that are just they're in the queue waiting their turn. Mm-hmm. And so that same thing goes for animation concepts. They're just waiting their turn.
So I want to jump back on to Brian's career because I was cyber stalking you, and I found out that you did storyboards for Walking Dead season 6.
Yes, and also the current season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you kind of know what's happening.
I know what's happening.
So,
I cannot talk about it.
Damn.
You're dealing with a professional.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
Brian knows what's happening, but I know how the show ends. I know how the show, and I've already figured it out, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I had my kids. I told my kids, I said, "This is how the show's going to end." I already know. They're like, "You don't know, Dad." I said, "Yes, I do. It's already been laid out for us." And I said, "I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna put it in an envelope and wait for when they say it's over. And then you open that envelope, it's gonna say the same thing. It might have a little variation, but it's say the same thing."
Okay. I'm curious.
An asteroid falls and kills everyone.
Come over the house.
There's always an asteroid. So what's that like? Talk to us about, and this can go for anyone here, you too, Odell. Like, what's it like to work on something and then you see it on TV or even in the theater?
I think there's a lot of projects that I've worked on that I wish were closer to the storyboards that I've created. I would love to have a lot more side by side, you know, screen comparisons.
Yeah.
But sometimes the shots or the scene gets rewritten completely, or some key some key aspects that I thought were cool didn't make it into the final shot. But I feel proud, and I'm very happy with work that I've done. I enjoy working on it. They all know I enjoy it, and they seem to like the fact that I'm a fan of the show. It is one of the more enjoyable storyboard projects that I've done, especially that it's it's an ongoing thing. And I'm just very fortunate that I've made that connection, and I get return business from them. I get phone calls quite often.
How long have you been doing it?
Pardon me?
How long have you been doing it?
How long have I been working on the show? Since season 6. So we're in 8 now, right? Yeah. Yeah. Coral.
Do they make you storyboard his mispronunciation of that boy's name?
I haven't really done too many scenes with Carl in it at all, but
I'm dying. I'm waiting for you to. Here, you can do this. Maybe you can sneak this into a storyboard where Carl actually turns to his dad and says, "That's not how you say my name, Dad."
Get it right.
Throws his hat down.
Walks away. You have
They're surrounded by zombies, and that's when he decides to have his teen angst kick in. It's not my name, Dad. God.
Like your name is Rack.
Funny.
To me, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't. I guess the first time I saw it, it was like, oh, this is cool. And then after that, you look at it like, I mean, it's.
There's my name.
It's just, yeah. Well, I think I have my name on one
Wow.
thing that I've done so far, which is
what project? Sorry.
What project? Sorry, is that what you said?
Yeah. Which projects have you?
That was Da Vinci's Demon. I think it was on Stars or Cinemax, one of those shows, one of those networks.
I believe
That
that was
was the
Stars.
only one that I've ever had my name on, and that felt weird, dude. I was like, oh snap!
That's me.
I made it. And after that, shit.
Your girl said, that ain't you. Stop all that lying.
Yeah.
You know how many Odell Palmas are out there?
That draw cartoon.
That's what I get a lot when I tell people, like, oh yeah, did you see that? They're like, I did that. They're like, yeah, right. Yeah, whatever.
See,
I guess there's no way to prove it. It's like, my name's not gonna be there. So I'm like,
Here's a career tip: take selfies in front of your computer at work.
just make sure the camera's not looking at you.
That's right.
Oh yeah, let's go to the office and pack your stuff up and go home.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time I saw it, it was pretty, it was pretty good. I felt like celebrating, you know what I mean? I felt the high, like, yo, I'm in Hollywood. This is like, I made my mark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then after that, it's just another job, man. So
Yeah.
you get used to it, you know what I mean? It's just like asking you, like, what is it like, when you're able to drink alcohol, how did you feel? It was amazing. You got drunk, you threw up.
Right.
And after that, yeah, it's just drinking. It's just drinking all the time. No,
That's funny because that's how I feel when I go to work. All right. I'm done with that project. I threw up.
It's Carlos, yeah, it's throwing up again. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's for everybody, it's different. So that's just my experience. I would love to work on Walking Dead. Like I used to love that show. It got really slow.
Okay.
And then
I know
Rick never lost his hand. What's up with that?
It picks back up right around season 6. Picks right back up.
Yeah.
So, no spoilers, but does he still have the hand?
No comment.
Okay.
See? You try to sneak that one in there.
You know?
He's good. He's good.
I mean, they're listening, right?
See?
Always listening.
Don't worry, they're not.
Always listening.
If I said something, they would be. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they would.
Oh, I guess I gave my opinion. When my first real television credit was Wild Thornberrys, and I remember like when I first started working on it. This is in '97, and I did my first character, which is a bull seal, and you know when it came back from the when it was ready for us to view it at the studio, and I remember like, yo, that's my bull seal, you know, like it's moving and it's talking and all that. And then it aired on television. And then every time Wild Thornberrys went off, my name was prominent. So, because there was only, you know, there were 4 character designers, and Anyabwile goes first. So my name was always on the top. And every day it goes off, my name is on there. So I remember that was like a real big deal back then. And then after that, when I came to Atlanta, you know, I did a lot of commercial work, and with a lot of commercial work, you don't really get credit because you know, commercials. So my first feature film was just recent, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, the movie that just came out. That was my first feature film, and so my name was in the credits going off, and I almost missed it. I mean, it was there, but there were so many names, and I was like, oh, there I am, you know, and I caught a picture of it. But I agree with Odell. It's like I think at a certain point, you know, the amazement is not there. I think what it is, it's more like, it's a feeling of satisfaction that you know, you don't take it for granted. I think it's more like, wow, man, you know, like getting an award, you know, like you get an award, but it's not supposed to go to your head like, hey, I don't have to do anything else anymore. I have an award. You know, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's supposed to be that type of thing that, you know, like, hey, you're doing a good job. Keep going. Right. You know, because there might be that greater thing that's coming around the corner. Okay, so you got this now. Now get this. Now get this. You know, it's just keep building on your life. So to me, it's just that feeling of accomplishment. Okay, cool. You know, share with your friends. Let them know, hey, I did this. But, you know, you don't, like, stay in that space. Like, now it's time to move to the next thing.
Dawud is really humble. Super humble. Like, if I was Dawud, I'd be going to the supermarket with my Emmy in my hand.
You know? Like, oh, yeah. I would be Flavor Flav in that thing. I would have jumped up the hole in that thing.
And that's just why they don't just give them out. You know? They be swinging from car, you know, like from the rear view mirrors.
Yes.
They made a long time ago. We can't just give these out. We can't.
Certain people don't deserve.
Give them to people who act like they've been there before.
Didn't have some home training.
Yeah, boy.
Yes.
Oh God, I can tell
that would be me. I would be a hot mess, dude.
I haven't been actually getting screen. I just did. I worked on a show called Ozark, which is on Netflix, and I worked about 2 months on that last year, and I wasn't able to talk about it to anybody, you know, until recently. So now that it's finally out, I get to sit and watch it, and I'm not credited, and it was a whole big rigmarole that I had to go through to figure out what I'm going to get credited as because I'm not a union guy, and then we end up watching the show, and I'm happy with the show. I like the show, and I'm proud of the work that I did. But you know, it's kind of like, hey, I feel a little bit cheated, but it's all good. It's just a job.
What's that all about? Or what's the show about?
The show, it's like it's kind of Breaking Bad-esque.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of Breaking Bad?
Yeah, it's got that sort of, it builds and builds and builds, and it's a very tense show.
Nice.
Yeah,
I've been trying to cut out time to watch it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It keeps showing up on the Netflix up on top there.
Yeah.
So they're pushing it. It seems to me like you guys are doing like a big media push lately. You guys want to talk about why you guys have like book signings happening and
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, on August 20th is the Brotherman Revelation Art Exhibition. Subtitle is Unleashing the Black Imagination. And we're inviting everybody to come out on the opening night, which is Thursday, August 24th. And it's going to be, if you're not in Atlanta, you have time to get a ticket or rent a car. We'll be here waiting for you.
Relocate.
Relocate.
If you're in animation at all, Atlanta seems to be the place to go.
Yeah, it's the place. And I think this is going to be a really good turnout because this is the 7th Brotherman Art Exhibition. We always had really good turnouts at all the shows. And this is our second time showing at the Auburn Avenue Research Library on Black history, African American history and culture, which is a historic research center on Auburn Avenue. And the first show that we did was in 2010. That was Brotherman Art Show number 3. And it had such a great turnout that, you know, they invited us to come back to do it again now that they revamped the whole library. I mean, they have a brand new gallery, auditorium, so we're going to have access to all of that. So we're working on video presentations that we're going to do. We have basically the show. What separates this from the previous shows, if anybody came to the previous Brotherman Art shows, the very first Brotherman Art show was in 2009 at Art on 5 Gallery in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And that was a really good turnout. But what that was, going back to when we were talking about when we all first got together talking about let's do Brotherman, the art shows were like precursors to the graphic novel. We came up with this idea, hey, let's put the original artwork on display from a long time ago to get all the Brotherman fans under one roof. And then we're going to introduce, hey, we're coming out with this new graphic novel. And so the Brotherman art shows in the beginning they were more historical journey. And, you know, I have original art, the original pages on display where you can see the cut zipatone, you know, because some people, they didn't realize that until they came to the show that, wow, a lot went into one page because sometimes the printing didn't do justice to the actual original art. So they got to see how like every little shadow under the nose, under the eye, the ears was a little piece of zipatone. So I would even take, you know, I didn't really see that in comic books. And I did that because I didn't really know how people use zipatone, but I just came up with my own style. And then now you can see that in the show. So, we also had giant standees, like you see the Melody Rich here, but I think we had like 13, 14 standees throughout the show. We had the original subway map blown up really big. A lot of the pieces from the show going all the way back to 1990 in frames. And you get to, you know, meet me and Guy, and, you know, we had, and Brian, and even my son was helping out doing some video work, and other members of the team doing video work and photography. And it was, you know, a good family evening. Everybody brought their family, kids. And we even had like testimonials and testimonials was really a really interesting part because we did libation pouring when the show opens, African drumming, like bringing in like ancestral energy where people see this is bigger than just comic books. It's like we're stepping into a new space of entertainment, and our ancestors have gone through a lot in terms of setting the stage for us to be here. And now we have this talent. It's like we're going to take our talent to basically like resurrect their energy. So it was more than comic books. So some people come there, you know, they were moved to tears. People were sharing stories about how Brotherman changed their life, you know, got them out of a certain lifestyle into doing something more positive. I remember one boy who was 14 years old who stood up and said he never heard of Brotherman until he came to the show. And he said, but he felt safe there. He said it felt like, he mentioned that he liked to do music production. And he said a lot of his peers, they were creating a lot of quote unquote negative music, and he wanted to do positive stuff, but he felt like he couldn't really like be himself because, you know, basically you got the peer pressure. But he said when he came to saw what Brotherman was, he said it was so positive, but it was still cool. And he said the thing he got out of the show, the original show, which was called Drawn from the Soul, is that he said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to draw from the soul. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to do my positive music. And it doesn't mean it's corny, because my stuff isn't corny, you know. And the fact that he can give this testimonial in front of a whole room full of people who are with him and, you know, respecting him. And the shows have always been like that, like one after the other testimonials. And so this new show that we're doing is called Brotherman Revelation, because the focus is on, like, now the graphic novel is out. So this is the first Brotherman art show, which is the 7th one. This is the 27th year that Brotherman has been, since Brotherman has been established. And we're going to have artwork from the comic book. So basically we took comic panels and blew them up like 5, 6, like one comic panel is 6 feet wide. You know what I mean? We have characters that are standing like 6 feet tall. Nice. And nobody's seen this. I mean, I think some of the stuff Guy hasn't even seen yet. It's going to blow his mind.
Spoiler alert.
I think one of the more unique features is the partnership with Emory.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is something that just came up this year, where Big City Entertainment has partnered with Emory Libraries and Information Technology, which is a department at Emory University, and they do basically like world building. They have a 3D department that, you know, they'll take like maps of the old map of Rome and, you know, rebuild it into like a virtual reality. They'll do like Google Maps, like do a lot of things with Google Maps. And my contact over there, the brother I knew over there, he was a fan of Brotherman. He proposed the idea of us doing a partnership with Emory, and we're going to be rolling this out at the Decatur Book Festival, which is 1 week after the Brotherman Art Show launches. But we're also going to be sneak previewing it at the Brotherman Art Show, where what we've been doing was world building. We were doing world building of the big city map. So basically think of like Google Maps, and, you know, pulling out all the addresses. I mean, we have over 87 locations?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, on our map, and we have our subway map. So when you click on the locations, you'll see what book it's from, what happened at that location, and this is on Emory's website. You see what I'm saying? Because we're pushing it into the higher education realm, and then we have what's going to be the creme de la creme is the 360 rotations. So basically, you know how you go on Google Maps, Google Earth, and you click on a location and you'll get a 360 rotation of that neighborhood. Well, we created 3 of them so far, where, you know, Brian did the coloring and everything, but it's like you're in the graphic novel. And so when you click on a space in the map, like Antonio Valor's house, you can now see Antonio Valor's whole block. You can look up in the sky, look at the ground, almost like a game engine. And we did 3 so far, but the whole purpose is we want to keep pushing this so then it can continue to be funded to just keep building out. Because they said, man, there's no end to this. Even Cold Hard Cases of Duke Denim, all the locations in all 5 volumes are on the map as well. So you can see everything where Duke went. And it's crazy. So we're about to roll all that out, and it's a lot bigger than what I'm saying now, because, you know, we're going to have African dancers opening up the show, and the elder does the libation. We're going to have a video production that I have the youth doing, including my sons and some other talented youth, where I say, hey, you guys, I want y'all to just, bam, do your thing, because they're really gifted in video work, music production, and all that. And they're doing something that's tied to the theme of unleashing the Black imagination. And Guy, if you want to chime in on the theme or anything, like about the show.
Well, I just, I'm far away from all the show development, so I just see bits and pieces. So I'm very excited, and I think that just the title, "Unleashing the Black Imagination," I think is so apropos today. And when I say this, I'm not putting down anything else that's out in the market, but there's a lot of Black images that are out in the market, but they're not from our imagination. They're from someone else's imagination. You know, they have their value, and people gonna go jump on board and check them out. But I think, and what happens, you know, our kids and you know, they look to someone else to bring them images of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, this is telling people what you're looking for is already in you. And you don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to expect it from anybody else. And then you can create it in your own way. So that's what I hope is the greatest takeaway from all the cool stuff, mind blown stuff and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We better get him out. We need to get that guy who's sitting on that bucket. Say, can we borrow your bucket? There's gonna be some minds blown. There's gonna be a spill in aisle number 7.
We know aisle 7.
That bucket.
No, man.
Hey, Brian on?
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from your experience at the shows, you know, anything you like to add from your experience?
Man, I mean, I've been to the 2 of the shows, and they've just been phenomenal. And they're kind of the kind of thing that people are still talking about till this day. Like the first one was 2009, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Art on 5 one. People are still talking about that event. I mean, it was just amazing. It was great. It wasn't just an art show. It was a video presentation where somehow, you know, people were just wrapped. And that was my first time really coming out and addressing the Brotherman audience as the new guy. And it was just great. It was really awesome. And I felt like, wow, this is something that I've thought about for years. It's something that I've always wanted to be part of. And here we are doing this. And now, you know, we have the graphic novel out. So I can only imagine what it'll be now, because we actually have something, you know, we've manifested something pretty amazing. If I do say so myself.
And I think you guys should be pat on the back, because you guys have built a team that all 3 members really do care about the property, and you want to see it get better. And you guys push each other to be better without stepping on each other's toes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is incredible to be able to do that for as long as you guys have been doing it. I think it's good on you guys to be able to pull this off and to keep it going. And now you're moving into shows and 6 feet cutouts and guys with buckets. Like that's you guys are showing that it can be done if your heart and your mind is in the right place. It's going to work.
Another thing too is that even when we come down to talking about you know, self-expression and being a creator of African descent, African American, Black, whatever you want to, however people want to categorize it, you know, so often it's always been looked upon as a negative. Some people even, they beat themselves up. Man, I'm a Black artist. I can't, you know, like almost like you look at all the negative things that's connected to Black, you've accepted it and you've applied it to yourself, when those are actually your assets. Those are the things that make you great. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just saying like as a Black person, I'm saying anybody, you know, who looks to who they are and they're proud of who they are, that is their asset. You know what I mean? They don't have to chase after somebody else's culture. It's like we can always, what makes culture great is that people thrust out who they are and other people learn from them. And that's the whole point of it. That's how we grow together, by respecting each other and celebrating each other.
Right.
And the thing is, with Black people in America, primarily because of our this history that has actually been detrimental to a lot of the growth of our people. collectively, you know, it's actually it's been damaging even creatively, like I was saying, like we create from someone else's eyes, because every day we wake up to somebody else's eyes. When we look at a billboard, when we turn on TV, even the, you know, what's considered beautiful on a magazine doesn't look like my mother or my sister or my cousin.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then we start thinking, well, that's the picture of beauty. Where we could say, yeah, every woman is beautiful, but it's like, how come my mom can't be heralded as beautiful? My sister be heralded as beautiful? So that's unleashing your imagination and not being scared, and, you know, stop being scared and say, like, I'm not going to be successful if my characters look like me. Like, man, that's corny. That's old. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's supposed to push who they are. Because I remember when we were doing the Brotherman art show, I can't remember the country. There was an Asian family in the show one time when I stopped by Auburn Avenue Research Library, and one of them could speak a little bit of English, and they said they were from a small island off the coast of China, and they happened to be in Atlanta, and they saw Auburn Avenue, and they came into the Brotherman art show, and they were describing it like I've never heard before, because they're coming from they're looking at it from a whole nother perspective, that they've never seen anything like this, like this universe. Like we had a subway map, we had big city ID cards that matched the map. It's an interactive show. It's not like you're just looking at random art. Everything is connected to a universe. And then they see all these Black characters, and they weren't stereotypical characters, but they loved it. And they wanted pictures of me standing in front of the work. And they were all ages. The family was all ages, and they were really respecting and appreciating it. And that's what we're saying. It's like, we have to stop thinking that we're local. We're global people. We've always been global people. But the media makes us think that we're small, makes us think that we don't have much self-worth and much to give. But that doesn't change until we change it in our minds. And as artists, the artists have a lot of control over that, because we control the image. You know what I mean? And it has to start somewhere. So it has to start in our mind. And that's what the graphic novel talks about. Young Antonio Valor realized nothing was going to change until he did something.
Right.
And if enough people think like that, you know, the old song goes, everything must change, nothing stays the same. Things will change, you know, but it starts with the mind.
Right. And I think a lot of that is just having the exposure. You know, imagine if you guys didn't start this comic book, there's no exposure to this part of the American culture, I guess, right? You know, you turn on the news, you see, oh, in Chicago, another 10,000 people died this weekend, right? So people are afraid to go to Chicago. Meanwhile, you go to the right parts of Chicago, you can have a really good time,
Right.
you know? People are afraid of minorities because they hear a guy who's running for president saying, well, someone's got to be doing the raping, right? So, but then there's the majority of the people like us that are sitting here thinking, you're going to get your sources from this knucklehead. Meanwhile, we're here. All you have to do is open yourself up to the exposure of who we are, and you'll see that we're pretty cool. Well, you'll see that we're hardworking. You'll see that we speak proper English when we want to, right?
When we want to.
We can draw, and it doesn't have to be a pistol or a dime bag, you know.
No, we can't.
I get in discussions with people, and I break it down like this. I'm like, look, I'm Cuban. Do I like rice and beans? Yes. However, if you had my mom's rice and beans, you'd be going crazy for rice and beans too. You just haven't had the exposure to it yet, right? So it's just that simple. Don't be getting secondhand exposure to different people's cultures. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Right. And that's again, I applaud you guys for doing this and for giving us the exposure. your exposure, your stories that you guys are coming out with, and it doesn't have to be all the stupid stuff that people are putting out there. Yeah, I can go on a rant on hip hop music right now, but I'm not going to, because that's not what we're here for.
I always thought
Go home, brother.
I always thought that Brotherman was hip hop, part of hip hop culture.
Oh yeah,
just because of, we've got, I mean, Dawud was raised in a graffiti kind of laden environment, and so was I. We're inspired by similar styles of music. Mm-hmm. So I think all of that is ingrained in the visuals, at least, or the cultural aesthetic of Big City, what Big City is really all about, not just Brotherman, but and I think that as artists of color, we have an opportunity which is sort of rare, that we're successful artists in the industry, and we're successful creatives, and we're able to work together, and so this is a great opportunity to sort of lead by example. Right. What's possible. People don't always know what's possible, and we, as quote unquote successful creators in the entertainment industry, sometimes we might take that for granted until we actually get out there and start meeting the fans and meeting people who are, who aspire to do what we do. And then that's why it's important that we do things like this, because we need to be in touch if we're going to be able to have a pulse, our finger on the pulse of who it is, of our audience.
And if you don't like where the story is going, you have the power to look over and be like, get on a Skype call and be like, can we talk about this?
Word.
You have the power to put out exactly what you want. I think that's incredible. And I agree with you, Brian, that Brotherman is definitely part of the hip hop culture, because hip hop is the inner city youth trying to tell their story, right? So whether it's dance, music, graffiti, you guys have taken artwork, taken it off the walls, put it in a book, put some story to it. I mean, it's there. It's exactly hip hop. When you talk to people about hip hop, by the way, disclaimer, I guess, I'm part of a team that's working on the history of Chicago hip hop.
Okay.
MidwayDocumentary.com. And so I've always been a huge fan of the music, of graffiti, just of dancing and all that stuff. So when I see the new phase of it is this, right? And all the folks that we knew that that started it off, they're getting to the point now in their life where they can turn around and actually share their struggles, share their stories, and tell the younger crew, this is how I did it. I started with absolutely nothing. That's exactly how you guys did it. We didn't know how to write a story. We didn't know how to lay out a comic book. We didn't do any of that. We didn't have that formal training, but we said, let's do it anyway. And here you are 20 some odd years later, and you have 6-foot cutouts. You have, an art thing happening, and it's exactly hip hop.
Got it.
I agree. Can I give the details on the upcoming events?
Of course.
Okay. Prior to the art show, which is August 24th, I'm doing a book signing at Green Love Kitchen. This Green Love Kitchen is this awesome. It's a Black-owned cafe in Lithonia, Georgia, which is DeKalb County, right on the peripheral of Atlanta. So basically, it's the Atlanta metropolitan area. Mm-hmm. And there's a bookstore inside of Green Love Kitchen called Black Dot Bookstore. So it's It's a Black bookstore, and their quote is "Moving from the unconscious state into the conscious knowing." And their address is 6986 Main Street, Lithonia, Georgia. And I'm doing a book signing there on August 12th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And you can find them. Their Instagram page is at black.dotbooks_think black.
Fake black.
Yes. And I'm sorry, it's black. I think it's black dot. Yeah, black dot books. Yeah, that's
what
right.
we could do is we'll put the links. I'll get the links after the show, and then we'll put them on the website and everything. So then that way, if you go to sketch.zone, you'll be able to access all these links.
Cool. And then following that, so that the book signing is a precursor to the big event that we were talking about. Guy will be in town for this. Brian's going to be there. This is going to be the big bash. And this is the Brotherman Revelation Art Exhibition, Unleashing the Black Imagination. It's going to be at Auburn Avenue Research Library, 101 Auburn Avenue, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia, August 24th from 6:30 to 9. We're suggesting everybody get there. Yo, if you can get there at 6:15, come a little early because we're going to start right on time. And the show is going to run from August 20th to September 20th. So you can actually go see the show on Sunday, August 20th and walk through. Bring your friends all week. And then on Thursday night is going to be the opening night. And I just want to read this real quick. These are Guy's words on Unleashing the Black Imagination from the flyer. And it says, "Black, not as in darkness or evil, but revelation and revolution. Imagination, not only existing in the mind, but conduced into cultural existence. Black imagination is the artistic experience of time, space, and soul. Here, in the nexus of the construction and deconstruction of possibilities, Black imagination defines this world and beyond."
Yeah, Guy.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good.
Whoever wrote that kind of knows what he's talking about.
They just might.
And one shout out to Baba Wakesa Manzimoyo and Afia Manzimoyo and the Manzimoyo family of Aya Educational Institute, which is a African-centered school here in Atlanta, and they're also a sponsor of the Brotherman Art Exhibition. And Baba Wakesa, he's basically our elder. He always does the libation pouring, and he opens up the show with some really deep insight into the whole theme. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about this one.
Nice.
All right.
Let's see. We are just past 2 hours. So let's go ahead and do this. Brotherman Comics. This or that. Would you guys rather see your name on a TV show or on a Brotherman comic book?
Wow.
Brotherman comic book.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the hard question.
Good
That's
answer.
already the given. You can't have the book without our names. I thought we were about to get a super challenge. You know.
A TV show or a movie?
Okay, now that's different. Okay.
I still, to me, I still. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is the second question?
Yeah, TV show or movie.
Yeah, I wanted to see if
like what I want my name.
This one's just off the cuff. Yeah, would you rather see your name on a TV show or on a movie?
A movie.
No.
I would say a TV show because it might come on every week.
Yeah.
The movie might be straight to video.
So are these questions in relation to Brotherman or in general? Would you like
however you interpret them. If you feel like you need to maybe explain your stance a little bit, we're here all day. But it's just however you take them.
Me, I still say movie.
Yeah. Same.
Movie for Brian? Okay. This one's more for the creative folks, for the storyboard folks. Do you use Photoshop or Storyboard Pro?
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Nice.
Photoshop.
Oh, this one actually, the setup is, I'll wait for that one for later. Would you guys rather work on storyboards or comics?
Storyboards.
Storyboards.
Yeah. This one is because we have a master colorist with us in our presence.
Where?
Film noir or Technicolor?
Noir, actually.
Noir for me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when I'm doing these colors, I'm thinking my first pass. It's always about the lighting and the drama, and if it stands on its own, then the color is just basically icing on the cake.
Nice.
Yeah, and I learned that from him. No, I really did. I mean, that's why I said because Brian hit me to that, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's dope."
Guy, did you answer that one yet?
I don't know.
Do you have a preference?
No.
Old grainy movies or the new super fancy ones?
Hey. I don't have a preference.
He's like, just turn on the TV.
Right.
I like the new stuff too. It's just,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I love it all.
Okay, so this one came from Brian recently had an interview session with Georgia Box Office. And if you are watching us on YouTube, just go ahead and do a search right after the show. Don't do it now. Do a search for Georgia Box Office. And they got together with Brian and they did I watched a couple videos. I don't know if there's any more than that.
They said they would release them every few weeks. So right now there are two short interviews.
Okay. So I think it was the latest one that they were talking about going from corporate to freelance.
Yes.
And so the question is freelance or 9 to 5? And this goes for everyone here.
I definitely I'm a freelancer. I'm not a 9 to 5er. I've never been a 9 to 5er. Even when I thought I wasn't. So it just took some time to figure out, okay, this is not me. I prefer to take all the blame for when it goes wrong, if that means that I can take the credit for when it goes right.
Yeah. How about you guys? Would you rather have a nice, safe 9 to 5 or an exciting freelance career?
An exciting freelance career.
Well, I just came off I was staff. Yeah, freelance.
I guess really? I'm the resident company man.
Yeah, I've been freelance for 5-6 years, and I just tried staff, and yeah, it's a different environment, and you don't get to leave when you want to leave, or it's just better freelance.
Yeah,
it's a lot of flexibility.
You make your own, dude. There's nothing like being your own boss.
Yeah.
What he said.
Meanwhile, guy has his feet up over by the coffee machine.
I got dental, vision, all of that.
You want to go to work today? Just call in sick. Just stay in bed. I ain't getting up today. Okay.
That's the thing. As a freelancer, I'm always sort of have a neurosis about staying busy. So I never actually get a chance to put my feet up because I'm always like, hey, what I got to do now? I got to do this now. And I got to send letters to this guy, and I'm always, I don't really relax ever.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But the second you start getting relaxed, it's the second when you just, I don't know, everything goes to mush.
Start to sink.
Yeah, that's when you're like, what am I doing? I'm not even having fun no more. This is just clockwork. You get up, you do it. It's routine. You get up, you do it, you go home. You get up, you do it, you go home.
Right.
And then you're like, man, it sucks. It does. Like, it dawns on you later on, like, man, I don't have time to really do anything anymore. Even though you think that when you're a freelancer, you had all this time to do whatever you want, which is true. You do have all this time to do what you want. If you want to send an email within the next 5 minutes, you can send an email, and then you can go and do whatever you want. If
I'm sorry. Okay.
You got to answer to the boss, then you got to reply to that email instantly, and then you got to take a 30-minute break, then you got to come back. You got to just, you got to, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir. I don't know. My experience is just completely different, I guess, but it wasn't for me.
After about 5 years of freelance, I took a job. This was at Cartoon Network, and I remember there was a time where during the winter, the sun takes a little bit longer to come up, and it goes down a lot sooner. So I just never. There's one day where I never actually got to see the sun, and that really bothered me. Where, I mean, I don't get to go out in the sun. I have to eat at my desk because my boss is looming, and it just was an uncomfortable environment for me for many reasons, but that being one. I realized I can't do this. Like, this is not something that I can really put myself through again. So whatever I have to do to make freelancing work, I'm doing it. That's it.
I guess we all been there since, everybody in this room is pretty much freelancing.
Except Guy. Guy got quiet. Sorry.
It's not for everybody.
Guy's like, I got health insurance. I go to the dentist whenever the hell I want.
Yeah, the perks were pretty good though. Yeah. The perks were pretty good, but it's not for everybody, man.
Yeah. All right, so that was it. That was this or that. Thank you for braving this or that. Now,
you're the inspiration. You bring feeling to my life. You're the inspiration.
And with a soundboard.
This week I'm taking, or I wanted to point out, I wanted to showcase Ian McHugh. There's 267,000 other followers that know about Ian. But dude is a 2D artist that I wonder how many Wacom tablets he has, because he doesn't do anything but make fire. Yeah. Absolutely all of his stuff is hot.
Beautiful.
Whoa. Yeah.
I quit.
I see. So yeah, let me see real quick. I want to Instagram.com/Ian McHugh, IAN as in Nancy, M as in Michael, CQUE, Ian McHugh. Yeah, we'll just scroll real fast. Like, this dude, he's got metal on lock. Everything is rusty. Everything has it's just look at the lighting is super dramatic and just great. Reminds me of this guy, Brian something. He wanted to make music for, oh no, that was Dawud. Dawud wanted to make music for Star Wars.
Yeah. Like night.
Yeah. So he's a concept artist, y'all, and he is crushing it.
What is he based out of? Yeah, do you know?
Let's see.
Pan or something like that.
I don't know right offhand, but we can try to find out real quick.
It looks like Canadian or something.
How
It's
does
got to be. Oh, his website is even tighter than that. Oh my God. Is this drawing in here? Hang on, let me see. He's got some drawings on his website that doesn't look like made it on Instagram yet.
Yeah, this guy has a lot of technique.
Anyway.
Great.
Yeah, you can even go to mchuconcept.blogspot.com and you'll see a lot more work. But this guy has put in the work. Look at it.
That's dope.
Amazing.
Fan.
So yeah, guys. Oh, go ahead.
I'm a new fan.
Yeah. You're tight.
Look at welcome Mobile Studio Pro. He needed a new one because he rubbed holes in his last one. He doesn't do anything but just
he goes
paint.
hard at the paint.
Just killing it. Good
Hard at the
Lord.
paint.
A lot of it looks like pen and ink or pencil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Art's, yeah, looks like one of those guys from art. What do you call it? That's the college, CalArts. The CalArts.
CalArts.
Yeah, they have a concept art class similar.
Dude is crazy. He's even got Chroma, a book of speed paints by Ian McHugh.
Oh, you cop that.
So yeah, Instagram.com/Ian McHugh. Does anyone else have a artist inspiration they want to showcase?
Yeah, I was going to try to think of something. I didn't get a chance to pull together from this evening.
All good. We can wrap it up. We can wrap it up there.
Okay.
So let's start with Brian. Brian, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you? They can find him muted. Hey, Guy.
Yeah.
If people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
Well, of course, brothermancomics.com, but also Guy Sims, GUYSIMS.com. And I just typed it in there so you'll see it. And like always, that's where you'll get your Brotherman graphic novel. Always got to show that. And then you have
brothermancomics.com/store.
You got the Duke Denim #1, Hold 'em Close. Duke Denim #2, Silver Roses. Duke Denim #3, High Notes and Low Blows. Duke Denim #4, The Troublesome Troop. And coming out this weekend, Duke Denim #5. I had to print a copy of the cover for you, Field of Headstones. So
that cover's dope. Who does those for you?
a guy named Dawud man, I can't pronounce his last name. Well, he lives in Atlanta.
I think Brian's back.
Hey, Brian, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
On Instagram, I am B_McGeezer, MCGEEZER. And on Twitter, I am B_McGeezy, MCGEEZY.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And Dawud, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
I have 2 Instagrams for the business. It's at Brotherman Comics with an X. Brother MANCOMIX. And I also have my personal page at Baba Dawud. That's BABADAWUD. So you'll see a collection of art, and you'll also see some vegan delights.
Hell yeah. If you guys want to see some good food, I've been following Dawud, and ever since I got him on the show, I've been trying to get myself invited to dinner.
I say, come on by. I got some in the fridge right now, man. You just missed the cheesecake. The cheesecake didn't make it through the weekend. Oh, knock that thing out. But yeah, I'm always willing to share. I'm not greedy.
Hey, Odell, thanks for sitting in.
Yeah, Odell.
If people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
Find me by my name, Odell Palmer. That's the link for our station. That's the link for any other artwork that I put out there. I'm trying to keep it simple. Also, for my no, that's different for my IG. Actually, it's 3D Boss. So 3D Boss, but it actually goes back to Odell Palmer as well. So if you can't find Odell Palmer, just go 3D Boss, and you should find all my stuff that way. So you'll be good. Super.
And we'll have all the links and stuff on the page for this episode on Sketch Zone. But before I go there, I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com. Or I keep forgetting that I made it super easy. Just take a look, do a search for Coconut Justice. That is me. You will see me out there. This is Sketch Zone. You can go to sketch.zone. You'll see this episode. You can see the previous episode that we had with the Brotherman crew. We've talked to, well, this is show number 112. So you guys have a lot of catching up to do if you guys haven't been watching. But you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/thesketchzone, youtube.com/sketchzonepodcast. And if you're watching right now, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We're trying to get the word out that we're here, and we try to be here every week. Quick little shout out to the regular panelists, Charlie B. Williams. You'll see his links on the page. It's like Charlie B. Williams the third / whatever. It's a lot. And then Jack Kasperzak, sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack everywhere else. That's it for us, everybody. Thank you for being here. Have a good week.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, don't hang up yet. Guy hung up last time.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, I got to go eat. And he hung up on us. Don't hang up yet.